Hey guys, today is something a little bit different. Every now and then I'll be uploading a video about this, but I'll be going over the evolution of how I created Speed Fury and Rainbow Shock. Now, originally, Gladiator Masters, my series that I want to make a real thing, was supposed to be just a fan-made project. It was supposed to be just part of the fandom I was part of at the time, which was don't laugh at me for this, the Brony community. I was part of the Bronies. But I left after the show ended, and I just embraced weebs and went full on weeb after that. But back then, Speed Fury and Rainbow Shock were way different. It was only about a few years ago that I actually changed their designs to what they are now. So, first we're gonna start with Speed Fury. We're gonna do his regular form and then his super mode, which is kind of his regular, which is kind of like his just regular battle mode. So when you start off with his head, let me see if I can remember how to draw this. I haven't done this version of him in a long time. So we actually start with his ear first when I'm doing these, because as you can probably guess by now, back then he was also not called Speed Fury, he was called Speed Demon. So that's pretty much what his hair looked like, and it wasn't really the hairstyle that I gave him that he has now. One second, guys, I'll be right back. Okay, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. So yeah, he actually still did have his mustache and goatee, because back then I had that as well. One second, just get that out of the way. Okay, so there's what his head looks like. Let me just color in his eye. Just make his pupil black. There we go. And we'll just do this. Back the camera up a little bit. Okay, keep going down. Stop right there. And his whole thing back then was that his wings were ridiculously big. Because if you've seen My Little Pony, and I assume that some of you out there have, you know that the Pegasus characters and any of the other characters with wings have rather small wings. So also, I made it so that he doesn't have that cutie mark that the ponies had. I wanted to differentiate him from the My Little Pony characters. So I gave him a mark of power on his leg, which was the blue lightning bolt that he's always had. So now we go right here and just go right about like that. There's like his under the underside of his body. So let me just put this back up here. Now let me start with his wings. And back then, of course, speed was actually his only power. I didn't really want to make him, like... I wanted to have, like, a character with super speed be, like, the, leader and the most powerful of the team. But, after a while, and by a while, I mean a long while, like, after I decided to finally just put Gladiator Masters in my own series, I decided to just make Speed Fury, well, have energy manipulation and make him more overpowered than any other character. I was getting sick of, like, people in Japan making all their characters overpowered to like the max. And so I made a character that can overpower all of them without even breaking a sweat. Also, he is actually pretty tall for a pony, which he is supposed to be. He's supposed to be more along the lines of a horse and not a pony. And there is Speed Demon. I'll get to coloring him and Rainbow Shark later, but that's what he looks like in his regular form. Now, let's get to his super mode. Wrong way. There we go. So this one is, of course, a bit different. He still has the Pegasus head and everything, because this version is he lives in Equestria, so. And I never have been good at drawing ponies. Well, I got better over time, but I just eventually stopped because I would rather stick with what I knew, which was like drawing characters that I was familiar with. And of course, back then, my characters. Oh, I almost dropped my phone. My characters did look a bit more kid friendly and more, well, and more child appropriate. Back then I wanted to just be a fan fiction, nothing like too extreme or anything. But over time, I realized that I'd grown a liking to these characters, and that's when I decided, you know what, my characters are not going to be for kids anymore. They're going to be my designs, and they're going to be way better. So yeah, I'm drawing his armor right now, and I'm not going to be able to get his whole body in here because I'm not good at drawing on this kind of paper. It's too small for me, and I don't like it. But I have to work with what I can. Let's draw his arm, holding his sword. And he only had 3 fingers back then because, you know, he was a pony, so having 4 fingers on non-human creatures was still rather weird for most people. And even his sword looked way different. His sword wasn't like that big beefy thing that I've got now, and it was more like a katana made out of pure blue energy. He actually had two powers, which was just back then called blue energy and super speed. But now his power is just pure energy, and super speed is just something he can make himself use with that blue energy. I mean, with that pure energy. Now for the legs, which were always hard for me to do. So yeah, the character didn't really have much brilliantly designed elements. Like for one, his wings were actually not like that. His wings were like kind of folded down when he was like this, like they would be in the My Little Pony series, instead of being, folded down the way I have them now. So, there's Speed Fury in his Master Mode, as it was called at the time. And yeah, this picture didn't take me too long to draw because, well, this one doesn't have as much detail in it as the other ones. This was back how I used to draw, so it's not really as great as they are now. Now, let me just turn the page real quick. I will show you what Rainbow Shock looked like, or rather, who Rainbow Shock started out as. Why am I drawing this? You guys know what Rainbow Dash looks like. I'll just draw Rainbow Dash's Super Mode, or Master Mode, as it's called. And back then, the Mega Masters were called the Harmony Masters, and all of them were the My Little Pony characters, instead of them being, my own designs. And I, of course, changed them and their names to other things. So let's start with, Also, I'm sorry if this turns out really bad. I am not good at drawing the My Little Ponies from the front. Especially their hair. Their hair is so annoying to draw. Which is probably one of the reasons why I stopped drawing them. We do one line there, one line there. Okay, so that's pretty much Rainbow Dash's head, or Rainbow Shock is who she is now. Yeah, I did change her from being Rainbow Dash to Rainbow Shock. I wanted my own designed character. And I didn't want them to be involved with any relation with My Little Pony. Of course, I wanted to have rainbows still be part of the character design for Rainbow Shock. But I wanted it to be, like, having something else to do with, besides, Rainbow Dash. I still had her be able to manipulate the weather, but I also gave her the ability to manipulate all of nature entirely, so that she could, you know, be a force to be reckoned with. Yes, I'm well aware her body looks weird. This is how I used to draw bodies when I first started doing this. And back then, she didn't have a hammer, she had a sword. Because, you know, she wasn't really a yandere back then, she was Rainbow Dash. Yeah, I am being sloppy with this drawing, but that's just because I usually was sloppy with these drawings back then. Back this up a little bit more so I can do her legs now. And for some reason, I made it so the females didn't have like boots. The males did, but the females never wore any leg armor or arm guards or anything like that, or even shoulder guards. I don't know why I did that, but I just did. And all the armor that the characters wore looked pretty much the same. It wasn't like unique or anything like that. They all had like the same exact armor, which I did change when I decided to make them into my own characters. Just erase these. Bring this camera up a little bit more so you can see what I'm doing. So there's pretty much Rainbow Dash, and or as I like to call her, the former Rainbow Shock, before she was given her own name and her own powers and everything. As well as making her just as overpowered as Speed Fury was. But, you know, with a bit more of a side of her that's a psycho. So there's Rainbow Shock. Oh, 1 second. There. So that's Rainbow Shock, or Rainbow Dash. Compared to how she looks now, this is like a downgrade compared to what she is now. Because, like, there she is. Now, I guess since this video is not very long to begin with, I'll show you the second design I went with for both characters. Now then. But this time I was getting kind of sick of the whole making Speed Fury the same every single time. So then I changed his name to Speed Strike. And other than that, this is the only thing I changed, and that was his hair. So I'm just going to put that right there. Do this, and come like that. Do this. That's pretty much all I did, was I changed his hair to look like that. That's it. I didn't really change Rainbow Shock either. But then I moved on, and I wanted my parents were kind of getting were not like into the whole me being a brony thing, so I moved on. And I was still a brony by this time though. I didn't tell them. I told them I left, but I really didn't. I told them I left the brony community, but I didn't really. I did eventually though, as you know now. So this is Speed Fury after he comes back to the human world, because he actually did come from the human world originally. I just had to weasel my way, somehow find that way to put that into my series, that he was human the whole time. And by this time, I actually had shaved my mustache for the first time, so I kind of stopped drawing him with a mustache, too. And I did this with his hair. I just made it, like, really, really spiky. Spikier than usual. Now, my whole thing when I first created Speed Fury, and by this time his name is Speed Strike, not Speed Fury yet. I didn't really want him to be look like the traditional anime protagonist that has spiky hair, but eventually that's what he ended up turning out like. Eventually, I did get him to the hairstyle I use for him now, which I've been using for him for years now. Because I've swapped between the two hairstyles with these guys before, and he did not actually wear a Levi jacket at the time like I do. He wore a leather jacket. I was going through a weird phase where I liked wearing leather jackets, and then I realized after a while I didn't like wearing leather jackets because they were too hot. Sorry, I don't remember drawing leather jackets. I'm not very good at it. And he still, of course, had the lightning bolt on his shirt. This is when I started drawing him with clothes, and I wasn't really good at drawing clothes on people at the time. It was terrible. And no, that doesn't mean I drew all characters naked. Most of the time when I drew characters, it was just them with a t-shirt and pants or something, which I was still terrible at drawing pants. And by this time, he did have the golden highlights in his hair, but they didn't have like that spiky hue that they do now, like that zigzaggy look. That's pretty much what he looked like by this time. I'm not gonna draw his pants because of course, you've seen how I draw pants, and they didn't really change much from how I do it now. So that's Speed Fury's look. Now, I did change Rainbow Shock's, or Rainbow Dash. By this time, I did change her name to Rainbow Shock. Well, I kind of mixed her hairdo with, like, Rarity from My Little Pony, along with hers. I wanted to at least find some way to differentiate the two. Other than that, her clothes were kind of like Equestria Girls Rainbow Dash from the first movie, not from like the TV series. Of course, my friends started making fun of the fact that I gave her a big forehead, which eventually made me change her to maybe try to fix that a little bit. Also, my friends were rather accepting of the fact that I was a brony. Didn't really say that it was weird or anything like that. Let's just say around here, people are rather how should I put it? Kind of chill and laid back. They don't really criticize you for what you like and stuff like that. I guess that's one good thing about growing up in a small town instead of in a big city. Which, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't ever want to grow up. I don't want to ever live in a big city because of that reason. So that's pretty much what Rainbow Shock looked like for her new design, and yeah, you can see why I changed it after a while. But then when I finally decided that, you know what, I'm not gonna have Speed Fury and Rainbow Shock be these My Little Pony characters anymore. I like these characters too much to have them be just a fan-made project. So I finally decided I was going to change everything about the series entirely. I changed Rainbow Shock was no longer previously known as Rainbow Dash. She was just called Rainbow Shock from the very beginning. There was no involvement of My Little Pony in it. I still kept Rainbow Shock as a Pegasus because she was, well, better as a Pegasus. I changed her skin from blue to white, light blue to white. I made one of her eyes a magenta instead of a pink, and the other one I turned yellow. I gave Rainbow Shock an entirely new haircut and a new tail design to look more like my own design. I gave her a new personality as well, giving her more of a psycho personality, giving her a bit of also a sadistic and violent side. And it turned out like this. As I've shown you already, this is Rainbow Shock now. This is what she looks like now. Of course, I did change her clothes a few times. Back then, her shorts were a bit shorter, and her shirt wasn't a turtleneck. It was like a tank top, and it still was a crop top as well. She also didn't have these arm sleeves that she's got on the side right here. She just kind of like slips on. Other than that, she looks pretty much the same as I first designed her as. And I changed Speed Fury. He used to have light blue skin, and wore a leather jacket, and he was a Pegasus. This is him now. He's a dragon. He has a long tail with the same symbol on his shirt that he has on his tail. He's got only 2 gold streaks in his hair now instead of several. He's got he still has the red eyes that I gave him to begin with. He has the red shirt with the blue lightning bolt Levi jacket instead of regular one. The big sword that I gave him instead. He's still got enormous wings, but all the characters have enormous wings, as you can tell from Rainbow Shock as well. And then he has, well, I'm changing those to more along the lines of silver, or maybe I'll just keep him green. I don't know. Those are his shoes. And I swapped his personality from more of the reckless anime protagonist into being more of the serious type. Also, these guys might be inspired by anime, but they're nothing like that. For instance, the only time they're ever like shout during when they're fighting is when they shout out their attacks, but for the most part, they're just like really silent. It's kind of ominous and creepy how and foreboding how they fight. Because like you won't see them like screaming at their opponent or anything like that. They're just like glaring at their opponent while they're attacking. It's kind of how it is. I mean, Rainbow Shock gets like that sometimes, but that's just because she's a psycho. She's crazy. That's how I like it. But over time, I had to redesign all the characters. I redesigned every single Mega Master too. I mean every single Harmony Master into Mega Masters, which is what they have remained since then. So, for instance, if I told you this right now, Sugar Rush, she was Pinkie Pie at one point. She doesn't look anything like Pinkie Pie anymore. The only thing that mildly looks familiar is the pink skin, but her eyes are not blue; they're purple. Her hair's blue. Her shirt is black with a red and black candy on it. She wears that purple jacket, and she wears like a black skirt and has like pink go-go boots or whatever those are called. 1 second. Where did I put the rest of my drawings for these characters at? Here they are. Give me a second. I'm gonna. Okay, so the boots aren't pink. They're actually purple. The same color as her jacket. So this is the full drawing that I did of Sugar Rush. She is supposed to be like she's supposed to be kind of innocent but kind of not, because her fighting style is almost just as violent as Rainbow Shock. Her signature weapon is not a hammer, but it's a giant candy cane scythe. And a lot of her attacks are based on candy. Like, her most powerful is called Sour Destruction, where she creates a bunch of acid that is formed from sour powder that like just kind of melts everything around the area that's evil. That's the whole thing. No matter how much destruction these guys cause, Speed Fury can just fix it up with his abilities. That's kind of what comes with having infinite power and all this immense power. The ability to destroy the entire Omniverse by not even moving or like blinking. All he has to do is just like think it and it'll just be gone. But he doesn't like get corrupted by that power, and he just like instead decides to just contain himself. And he's not really got any wants to destroy the universe that he grew up in. I mean, why would he? He's had a good life growing up. And for once he's happy. So he doesn't really want to get rid of everything that he's worked up to. Anyway, next picture. Okay, so here's Twilight's redesign into Stardust. Changed the hair color. I gave her glasses. Her eyes are pink now. She wears a sort of a school uniform. It differentiates. It kind of changes depending on what the school uniform changes. Depending on how I'm feeling. I forgot to draw the little fluffy things that are on the side of her, on the tops of her boots. She still has these two stripes, but they're not like different. And she also has freckles now. She has blue skin instead of purple. Let me real quick see if I can find another picture of a character in here. I don't know if I do or not. Still the same character. Oh, here we go. Here's one of the original characters that I designed later on into the Gladiator Master series. This is Telekineta. She's actually the third main character of the 5 main character cast, being of Speed Fury, Rainbow Shock, and this is the third one, Telekineta. She has the power to manipulate everything that involves the mind. So telekinesis, mind control. Her signature weapon is actually a bow that shoots arrows that will never miss because she can control where she wants them to go. The bow also splits into 2 smaller swords that she can use. And she acts as more of the big sister of the Gladiator Master. She's also got a bit of a temper problem, and she's a bit of a collision between